Mine. Ugh. Oh, there we go. And it's Christmas morning over here at the DG shop, and I'm a smiling, happy guy because this gets to go on my own daily, our shop truck here at DG's ProTech. So what are we going to talk about today on DG's TV? Let's talk all about turbocharger upgrade options for your Power Stroke. Okay, so you own a late model 6.7 liter, whether it be a 2011 up to 2019 Power Stroke Ford pickup. And it's time for turbocharger upgrade options. So I've got a couple comparisons here I'm going to show you. We're going to end up with the one that's going on the shop truck here in a second, talked about why we chose that. So starting off in 2011 to 2014 Gen 1, we have a GT32 turbocharger. And I do not have one in front of me because I've thrown them all in the garbage. It was a good turbo. It was an okay turbo, meaning it did have a really neat twin scroll design. So we have a compressor feeding to a secondary compressor back to back off of one turbine. It has VGT runoff, an oil electronic solenoid. It had a wastegate. It was a Frankenstein of a turbo. Did it work? Yep. Did it spool down low? You betcha, nothing beats it. Did it last? Depending on load, it is common to see bearing failures within that. Now, Ford made a couple changes of the bearing design through the generations. Loaded, it can cause excessive speed bearing failures, quite common. They're not really rebuildable. They're kind of a throw it and go. Now, if you need to stay emissions compliant, and here in Ontario, Canada, we do, you're kind of limited to sticking with your VGT options. There are non-VGT fixed vane turbocharger for race applications if you need to go that way, but that's not what this video is about. This video is about upgrade options. So if you are a 2011 to 2014 Power Stroke owner, step number one, we can simply set you up with what you see right here in front of you. Ironically, doesn't this look like a used turbo? Oh, it is, because it just came off a second generation, which is a GT37. So what I'm talking about, if you're running an 11 to 14 Power Stroke GT32 with the twin scroll design, you can put on an upgrade, which goes to a larger 61 mil, I believe it is, compressor from your dual 42s for what you would call them, compressor wheels on your GT32, and get yourself a retrofit kit from us here at DG's ProTech, which will keep you emissions compliant by keeping you in a VGT turbocharger. You could also add in an exhaust brake at the push of a button using your VGT at that time. But even still, just a simple drop-in GT37, which is your 15 to 19 turbocharger, in your first gen 11 to 14 Power Stroke is an amazing airflow upgrade. A little bit of emissions compliant tuning off there and you're off to the races. Let's say you want more. We've moved from the Gen 1 retrofit kit as an option. Now we're going right on to the Gen 2. This is BD's Screamer model I've got in front of me. So this is a GT37 that has been modified with a larger compressor wheel. Well, how big? We're going to 65 mil compressor on this one. Plus, it is a billet wheel that has been fully balanced. You'll see a totally different blade count and blade design in this. Inducers and exducers are changed as well on this wheel. Very quick spooling. Let's talk about flow ratings. These bad boys are running between 81 and 85 pound-feet of air per minute, and that's a big flow rating increase from it, which means this unit is easily capable of about 650 horsepower. Did I mention emissions compliant? Keeps your whole rest of your system, including the government, off your back. These are produced in a couple of different brands. Again, hashtag goes out here to my boy Merv, Chris, Harold, all the guys at BD Diesel that support us here in Ontario, Canada every day. This is what's going to be going on to our shop truck, along with a host of other secret squirrel modifications in that way. But this is how we're going to support more horsepower in a daily driver without going to a complicated compound system, which is a much more expensive but capable option to do. We're staying away from fixed vane in this case. The vane design on the turbine style of this really lowers exhaust drive pressure, which makes everybody happy as well. Now, they do make this part number as well in a couple different applications. So if you are a Generation 1 or there's this in between 15 and 16 where you're technically a Generation 2 turbo. This will bolt right in, but your pedestal height is a little different. You can actually slap one of these into a Gen 1, being your 11 to 14 style power stroke, and really you're at a stage 2 upgrade at that point, moving even more airflow than you ever could have before. Max boost is also increased. Ironically, turbo RPM around 120,000 RPM. These are capable of 39 PSI, which is more obviously than stock. Ironically, and this made me laugh, BD Diesel, the fact that you put a spec in your installation book about 36 PSI max if you're a clogged filter. I think that's a shout out to the guys that don't maintain their vehicles like you'd love them to do. When the installation of these turbochargers happened, it doesn't have to be a cab up design like you see here behind me on our shop truck. This can be done cab on. It is not a bad installation. It can be done typically in our shop about 6 to 7 hours tops. We're going to top that off with fresh oil and filter on this to keep that new turbocharger and your warranty happy. But these are a great upgrade. Now, of course, not required tuning. I would emissions compliant tune this truck as part of doing it. Of course, our truck's going to get that as well because we're going to really want to take advantage of that airflow going into that big boy turbo. So really neat options here. Now, there's one in between me we didn't talk about till just now. This is actually a cab chassis turbo from in this case, it's a 2018, but really this would be the same turbo design from 11 right up to 19. And believe it or not, there are even upgrade options if you're a cab chassis user, which means you've got a utility truck out the wazoo, so you're gonna want an upgrade in there to be able to pull more horses, bales, concrete, steel, whatever you're doing with that truck. Works great with stationary elevated idle stuff, so for a crane application as well. So there are options for you in different part numbers as well from BD Diesel. Again, not what we're talking about specifically today, but just know that we have options for these. Now there are other applications and we'll probably do other videos in those too as well. Love what my kids call me in the middle of the video. Hey, Mav. The options that they've got going in other brands, BD Diesel and Fleece and others also have great options for these drop-in VGT units for your Duramax and your Cummins as well. So we have lots of options of these. But here in Ontario, Canada, we're talking emissions compliant as in other places of North America. These drop-in VGT units are beauty. Pointing at the screen in this case, one's going on a truck. We'll do more videos to show you what we've got for real dyno numbers coming out after. But really, really nice units. And it's Christmas. And I got to get to work. So see ya.